Yo, welcome back to the MMA Fight Round. Thanks for tuning in. If you are new, it is your boy Chris, and I'm back with another picks and predictions video. This time for UFC Vegas 92. Tatsuro Taira taking on Perez in the main event. Hope you guys like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of these picks in the comments, and let me know your picks in the comments as well. Leading off the card, we got Melquizael Costa taking on Shayilan Nuerdanbieke. Now, I'm not particularly high on either one of these guys. I think there's holes in their game that either one of them can expose, and the line should be a bit closer here. But, they're both coming off losses to Steve Garcia. Garcia, he styled on Costa. He was defending the takedown in the first round. Costa didn't really want much to do with the striking with Garcia. And then in the second, Costa gets the takedown, only to get reversed and just swarmed on with ground and pound strikes from Garcia. Garcia finishes Costa in the second round early. And, in the end, he had Costa trying to grapple the ref. Because, Costa just had no idea where he was at. He was stunned bad. He really didn't showcase anything in that fight. And, for Shayilan, he almost had Garcia out in that first round. Caught him with an overhand right, dropped him, and he just had a cardio dump. And he had a cardio dump real bad. It was early in the fight. Garcia took advantage of that. The output and volume of Garcia, he just folded him with a body shot. And, now these two are fighting each other. And Shayilan, a bit more experience in the UFC, but he's fought straight cans. He hasn't beaten anyone who's been able to last in the promotion. They're all cut from the promotion now. And, he's confident. He's confident to throw his hands. He's got really good wrestling. He's not fundamental when it comes to the striking, but he's got really good wrestling. Garcia, I think, will have the striking advantage in this fight, especially with the reach. And, it's really going to come down to if Garcia can deal with Shayilan in the wrestling department. If he can defend some takedowns, I think, keep this fight standing for a few minutes, have bigger moments into the rounds. I'm leaning Costa in this fight. I think he can get this one done. He showed good work against Thiago Moises when it came to defending takedowns near the cage. It was in open space when Thiago was able to get that takedown a lot easier. But that was up a weight class, and Shayilan, he does have a bit more technical wrestling. He's not a jiu-jitsu player, but I think Costa can get this one done here, man. I think he'll defend the takedown. I'm leaning on that, and I hope he gets it done. I think he gets it done by decision. I'm picking Costa by decision in this fight. Betting wise, I don't think Costa covers that line, man. My money's probably staying away. Next fight, we got Josefine Knutsson taking on Julia Polastri. Knutsson destroyed Marnik, man, in her UFC debut. But we know if you've watched UFC, if you've seen Marnik Man fight, I do not think that she is UFC caliber. I think she's a regional scene type of fighter. And Josefine was able to show that she's levels above her. Took her down whenever she wanted to, and the striking looked good in that fight as well. She's got a K1 kickboxing background, yet she's just been taking her opponents down. She does train up in that camp in Sweden with Hamzat, so no surprise that she's got good wrestling. She racked up 10 minutes control time on Marnik Man, took her down 3 times. She's becoming a more complete fighter. She's only 7-0, and she's got another test here against a brawler, Julia Polastri. Polastri has a hands down, come forward style. She's aggressive no matter where the fight goes, and I think Polastri makes her opponents uncomfortable with that style because she doesn't take a step back. And Knutsson, she's gonna have the cleaner stand-up, but how does that look against a fighter who's just pushing the pace, coming forward? I don't know. I don't know how the striking is gonna look. She's only 7-0. I think there's a lot of unknowns with the both of these, and I'm gonna side with Knutsson to get a win by decision here, but it would not surprise me if Polastri pulls the upset. She brings problems everywhere this fight goes, and if Knutsson doesn't have the tools to deal with it, she could definitely lose this fight. But I think she has shown that she's improving in her game. Only 7-0, but she's becoming a bit more complete in her fighting style. I'm gonna go Knutsson here by decision. Next fight, We got Jeka Saragih taking on Westin Wilson. Now, I think Westin Wilson, for now, is just an automatic fade. No matter the matchup right now, the guy just hasn't proven he belongs. And I'm not convinced he has a chance here either, man. Granted, Jeka is a very questionable signing as well. He's lost to Anshul Jubli. That was up at lightweight. He's moved down to featherweight since and picked up a really good knockout win over Lucas Alexander, where he was at a reach disadvantage and he was able to pull it off, man. But in terms of ceiling, there's no debate. 35-year-old Westin Wilson, who's been knocked out in his past 2 fights, I don't think he has the star potential here, man. I don't think he has a chance in this fight, man. Jeka, he lost to Anshul Jubli. Like I said, it was up a weight class, but, for me, honestly, him beating Lucas Alexander the way he did, that's enough to convince me that he can get this one done here over Westin Wilson. That chin is just very questionable in all of his fights, and he doesn't really have the best cardio either. I got to sign with Jeka Saragih to get this one done by finish. I think he gets this one done. I think it's a layup opportunity for him. One of the very few fighters coming out of Indonesia, so maybe they're trying to give him some light here. I'm picking Jeka Saragih to get this one done. Next fight, we got Gabriella Fernandes taking on Carli Judice. Fernandes, she has not looked good in the UFC. She has yet to win a round. 0-2, hasn't picked up a win. But I'll be clear, man. Jasmine Jasudavicius and Teresa Bleda, 2 opponents that wanted nothing to do with her on the stand-up, on the feet, man. The blueprint has been laid out on how to beat Gabby Fernandes, but I'm not sure if Carli Judice has those tools, man. She's only 3-1. Gabriella, she's a forward pressure striker. Watching her regional scene fights, you can see where she starts landing and gains momentum. She can be a finisher. And really, it's no surprise most have wanted nothing to do with her stand-up. And, Judice, 3-1, like I said, only 4 fights into her MMA career, and all I've seen is her striking. So, she's gotten taken down by smaller, weaker opponents in the regional scene that I've seen. And we last saw her against Ernesta Karakaiti, where she got outstruck, and I feel like Ernesta was doing a great job making Carli fight on the back foot and, just keeping her busy. Can Gabby Fernandes make Carli Judice fight on the back foot? I think she can, man. I think she's a good striker. Carli, she favors her stand-up, and that's where I have to side with Gabby here. I think the time to fade Gabriella Fernandes is when she's taking on strong wrestlers and grapplers, and this one is going to be favorable for her. I do not like the little amount of experience from Carli Judice, and I think from watching Gabby Fernandes' Instagram, she's been training with her past opponent, Ernesta Karakaiti. So good to see that. I'm picking Gabriella here to get this one done by decision. I think she's the stronger fighter. She could even get a finish here, but Carli, she's game. She's definitely game. If you saw her Contender Series fight against Ernesta, it was a good fight. It was a scrap, and I think we could see another scrap here. But Gabby, the stronger puncher, I'm gonna go with her by decision in this fight. Next one, we got Garrett Armfield taking on Brady Hiestand. I like what I saw out of Armfield in his last one against Brad Katona. Brad Katona, a guy who we just saw out grapple Jesse Butler last weekend. Armfield defended 5 out of 9 takedowns from Katona, and he made sure when he did get taken down, he kept him busy. He found a way back up. His stand-up looks better each time you see him, and he's got great head movement with a consistent jab. He's got finishing power. We saw that against Tashiomi Kazama. He got him out in the first with the right hand. I think Armfield is much more proven than Hiestand, who's just really failed to impress, in my opinion, man. Hiestand, he's got losses to Ricky Tercios. He's getting knocked out by Chad and Helliger. He was just, being one-dimensional in that fight with Ricky Tercios, diving for legs, hoping that he can keep Tercios down. And Tercios was busy off his back and winning rounds that way still. Brady, he was in serious trouble against Batigro Dana early in the first and in the second as well. He got dropped. So, man, he got a comeback win in that fight against Dana, but Dana kind of just gave up on himself in that fight. And that's the one thing I can be sure of. Armfield is not going to give up on himself here. I think Brady is going to try everything to get this fight to the ground. Garrett, Armfield is going to be prepared for it. Give me Armfield to get this one done, either by finish or decision in this fight. Next up, we got Nate Maness taking on Jimmy Flick. One-dimensional Jimmy Flick is making another appearance, and we know exactly what he's going to try to do here. Only chance Jimmy Flick wins this fight is if Nate Maness decides to play grapple with Jimmy Flick here, and I don't think he's going to want to, man. Jimmy Flick coming off a win over Malcolm Gordon, who is now cut from the promotion. Thank God. I mean, that is another can crusher right there. Coming off that UFC 297 Canada performance, Jimmy Flick, he's probably on a high, but I think Nate Maness, you know, this is now going to be the 4th grappler in a row that he's facing. So who better prepared for this challenge than Nate Maness? He's taking on guys like Umar Nurmagomedov, Tagir Ulanbekov, Mateus Mendonça. Like, you know, he's fighting a lot of grapplers nowadays, and I think the more he's fighting them, the more better prepared he's going to be. Flick, he's going to be diving for those legs. If he can get a takedown, it's a lay and pray process from there. He's not comfortable enough with his hands. Doesn't check calf kicks. Hasn't impressed me overall, man. I'm picking Nate Maness to get this one done, either by finish or decision. If he can stay away from the grappling, he has the potential to make this one look easy. But Flick is relentless with his game plan, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see this go into the scorecards. Still, I'm taking Nate Maness by decision or finish in this fight. Next up, we got Tagir Ulanbekov taking on Joshua Van. Joshua Van, he delivers fun fights. He's got great boxing, mixes up his shots to the body very well. He earned himself a knockout win over Felipe Bunez in his last one, and he dealt with a reach disadvantage very well in that fight. You know, he's at a reach disadvantage at this one, so that was good to see. It was a rough first round for him, and you know, at this point we can honestly say it takes Joshua Van some time to build a rhythm in his fights, because he's lost the first round in every single one of his fights in the UFC. Part of that, you know, it's got to be because he's 22 years old. He's still learning a lot, but as he goes on, but you know, he has gotten off to a great start. He's undefeated in the UFC. Now he gets the chance to upset a number 12 ranked Tagir Ulanbekov. And you know, Tagir, he's been impressive as well. On a 2-fight win streak, both by finish. Overall, he's 4-1 in the UFC. You could argue he should be 5-0. He's got a loss over Tim Means, where you can, you know, like I said, you can make the case that he won that fight. Tim Means was kind of cheating in that one as well. He's a phenomenal grappler. He's shown some shades of his stand-up, but his comfort zone is definitely when this fight goes to the ground. Tagir, you know, he trains with the Nurmagomedov family. It's not a secret this guy is next level in the grappling. I think for him to get a win here, he's actually going to need to get this fight to the ground, though, because Joshua Van, he's shown that he's game when it comes to this fight staying on the feet, or any fight staying on the feet. And you know, I just think that, you know, he's gonna struggle in the grappling department with Tagir. You know, Tagir is taking down guys like Cody Durden, Tim Elliott, Alan Nascimento, guys with serious grappling experience, wrestling experience. He's taken them all down several times, and he's given them all problems finding a way back up. Can Joshua Van bring something different in this fight? Maybe, but he's gonna have to prove it this Saturday. I just can't make the pick for Joshua Van here. I think this is too much too soon for Van, and I gotta go with the favorite to get this one done. I'm picking Tagir, either by submission or decision in this fight. Striker versus grappler matchup, but the grappler in this case, much more experienced. Tagir is the pick here for me. Next up, we got Adam Fugitt taking on Joshua Quinlan. Great fight here, considering these two both need a win. And from what I've seen on tape, this should be a pretty close fight. They meet each other very well in MMA, in all skills of MMA. Adam, he's looked all right in all of his fights until he gets clipped. And he's not particularly great anywhere, but he's well-rounded and he's got finishing power. He is 35, and you got to question how well the chin is going to hold up as he ages. And Mike Malott put him away, but he took the right time before returning here. While his opponent, Josh Quinlan, just got knocked out 3 months ago by Danny Barlow. Quinlan has not been able to do well when at a reach disadvantage, and that's going to be the case here again against Fugitt. His only win in the UFC is really not aging well, and he's proven to be a questionable signing. His Contender Series fight, he was popped for PEDs. He's a striker, and just like Fugitt, he doesn't really stand out anywhere in particular. And with the reach disadvantage being a problem here again, I can see this one being a tough fight for Josh Quinlan. He's gonna have to catch Fugitt early, and it can happen. It can happen for sure, but if it doesn't happen early, I think Fugitt runs away with this fight by decision or even by late finish, because he just got knocked out 3 months ago. This guy is not taking enough time off. And Adam, he's won 8 out of his 9 by finish, and I think he goes for it from rounds 1 all the way to 3. He needs a win here. If he can take Josh to the later rounds and keep this fight at his distance, then he should win this one on the scorecards. Adam also has the power to finish Quinlan as the fight goes on, man. I'm picking Adam here by late finish or decision in this fight. I think he can get this one done and get an upset. He's the dog in this fight. I'm picking Adam Fugitt here. I do not like the amount of time off that Josh Quinlan has taken before this fight, so that also plays a role. Give me Adam here by late finish or decision. Next up, we got Almabaev taking on Jose Johnson. Johnson is moving down to flyweight, coming off a win over Chad Anheliger, and it seems to me that he's a bit unsure of himself, while Almabaev is a lot more confident, and he's delivered at flyweight, going 2-0 with 1 submission finish over Odie Osborne. And from what we have seen, Asu is a very dominant grappler. He racked up 9.5 minutes and 9 takedowns in his last one against CJ Vergara. It was a one-sided beatdown for Asu in that fight, and CJ just had no answer for the grappling. It would have been nicer if he was able to pull off a submission finish and really, or even a ground and pound finish over CJ Vergara. That would have been a lot more impressive. Vergara has been dealing with a lot of grapplers lately though, so maybe that could have been the case, but I think it's very clear Asu has potential to be top 10, and he's the more comfortable fighter here at this weight class. The more comfortable he gets with his striking, he's going to be even more dangerous. And only 30 years old, already 19-2 with 12 of them by finish. The UFC is supporting this guy because they're giving him possibly a layup here, man. Jose Johnson, not the best takedown defense. This guy's been taken down 12 times in his first Contender Series fight. He got controlled for 10 minutes. In his second Contender Series fight, he got taken down 6 times and controlled for 8 minutes. Only took 3 minutes for Damon Blackshear to put him in a twister in his UFC debut. And then even in his win over Chad Anheliger, he got taken down 4 times. Man, the takedown defense is terrible for this guy. I will say though, he does create scrambles when he's off his back. He will, he's gonna throw elbows. He's gonna try everything. But Almabaev, a guy who's been grappling damn near all his life, and you can tell, the question for me is, how is he gonna do that? How well is Jose Johnson gonna do off his back against a very dominant grappler like Almabaev? I know there's a huge height difference here, but Almabaev, coming from a good training camp with Henry Hooft and them, I think he's going to showcase his dominance here once again by doing exactly what he's good at. Asu is just a dominant wrestler, grappler, and he's going to get Jose Johnson down. We all know that one by now. I mean, if the stats don't lie here, Asu is going to get this one done here by submission or decision. That is the pick in this fight. Next up, we got Miles Johns taking on Douglas Silva de Andrade. 1 year layoff for the 38-year-old Douglas de Silva de Andrade, but he has not looked good. Not looked old. Sorry, he has not looked old in his fights. He's a great striker. 20 out of 29 wins by knockout. 70% takedown defense. He makes good reads on his opponents, and he can go the full 15. So he's been a guy who has been tough to deal with in all aspects of MMA. But in his last fight against Cody Stamann, I think the age started to show. At this weight class, 135, it's going to be tough, as he ages. I didn't see the knockout artist with 20 finishes in that fight with Cody Stamann. I saw a guy who was slowing down, and personally, I thought Stamann won that fight. I thought he won rounds 1 and 3. In round 3, he dropped him, and I thought Stamann did more than enough in that fight, but Andrade got his hand raised, and Stamann, he's a much more technical striker than Miles Johns has shown us in the past, and Johns, he has finishing power, but he's wild. He throws wild, and he's worked himself a win streak in his past 3 fights with a new coach, and he has shown us that he's fixed his cardio issues, but he's gotten most of these fights done using his grappling, mixing up his grappling with his striking. He went the full 3 rounds against Cody Gibson. It was fairly one-sided, but Johns wasn't really throwing much output. He was landing good shots on the feet, and he got takedowns when he needed them. I think we're seeing a 30-year-old who's honing in on his skills as an MMA fighter, and then we're seeing Douglas Andrade, who pretty much is a finished product by now at 38. We know exactly what we're gonna get out of him. If Douglas is showing shades of his former self, I think he has the potential to knock out Miles Johns, make Miles Johns look silly all 3 rounds. But that's not what I have been seeing in that fight with Cody Stamann. And with the year layoff, I got to question how he's going to look as well. I think Miles Johns gets this one done on the scorecards. 8-year age difference. I think Johns can take advantage of the less lethal Douglas Andrade, and at the very least get this one done by decision. So Miles by decision is the pick here in this fight. Next up, we got Timmy Cuamba taking on Lucas Almeida. This will be the second fight for Cuamba in the UFC, but his first with a full fight camp and at his weight class. He took a short notice fight against the lightweight Bolaji Oki, and Oki was just a step ahead of him in the striking. Cuamba was able to get round 2 with his wrestling, and that showed us more tools in his game because he doesn't have a submission win on his record, so it was good to see some grappling, but he's got good striking. He's a crisp boxer. Cuamba, he doesn't quit on himself. He will always look for a way to win. He's only 25 years old, and now he's taking on Lucas Almeida, who is on a 2-fight losing streak, but he's got losses to Pat Sabatini and Andre Fili. These are guys who have established a name in the UFC, and you can argue this is a step down in competition for a guy like Lucas, who's coming off those 2 losses. But with all that considered, Lucas has not looked good in the UFC yet, man. The win over Michael Trizano is not aging well. He got dropped in that first round before eventually landing some shots of his own. His striking looks good, but it could be fight ending, and his chin just has not held up. And if it's not his chin, it's his takedown defense. And I think Cuamba, he's going to test him in both areas. The one thing I'm noticing about Almeida is he really lacks head movement in the striking as well. At 33 years old, I think age is not doing him any favors. I think Cuamba, the fresher fighter of the 2, is going to be pushing the pace and mixing up the striking with the wrestling. I'm picking Cuamba here by decision. I think he can get this one done. I think Almeida is going to have to take a safer approach coming off 2 losses where he got finished in both of them, but that's going to cost him here. And Almeida, he looks best when he's flowing, and he's doing when he's flowing, when he has a rhythm and he's dangerous, but he's been doing the opposite. He's been looking stiff and nervous out there. Give me Cuamba here by decision. Next up, we got the co-main event that no one is asking for. The most predictable co-main event I've ever seen. Ikram Aliskerov taking on Antonio Tricoli. Ikram wins this fight. Ikram wins this fight every day of the week, man. The fight, just shouldn't even be taking place. The UFC is just giving up on finding this guy good opponents nowadays. The resume after Ikram wins this fight on Saturday, because he's going to win this fight, it's now going to be Phil Hawes, Warley Alves, and then Antonio Tricoli. And he's probably going to be giving someone outside of the top 15 after this fight, which with those 3 wins definitely doesn't justify that. But We're talking about a guy whose only loss is to Khamzat Chimaev. He's shown finishing power. He's shown great grappling. Ikram Aliskerov is a savage prospect in the UFC right now. Only 31 years old. And Antonio Tricoli is a nobody, man. He hasn't fought in some time. He's only beaten Cans back in the regional scene. He hasn't really been tested at all. I don't think he's going to be ready for this matchup whatsoever. I'm picking Ikram here by however he wants, man. Next up, we got the main event. Hope you guys like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of these picks in the comments, man. Interesting main event here. We got Alex Perez taking on Tatsuro Taira. This fight is going to answer some questions about these two. Is Perez really building momentum? And how does Taira look against someone who can meet him in the not in the grappling, in the wrestling? Tatsuro, you know, he has looked impressive in the UFC. 5-0 with 3 finishes. He's an amazing grappler. He has taken all his opponents down. He's not just looking to lay and pray. He's always looking to advance positions. And he's chasing finishes out there. He's tall for this weight class, and it plays into his favor with his style and his ability to get the back on most of his opponents. He's agile. I think it was great to see him showcase some striking in his last one against Carlos Fernandes. He caught him with some mean strikes, had Carlos bleeding real bad from his eye at the end of that fight. And, you know, he dropped Carlos Fernandes before he submitted him. This is a step up in competition for Taira, no doubt about it. But it's also a tough matchup for Alex Perez. You know, this is going to be the 3rd fight in 4 months for Perez. And for us, that is a rare sight, you know, considering this guy was gone for almost 2 years prior to that. The consistency is going to do Perez some favors, and the way he was able to grapple with Makhachev, it showed he's very hard to get down, and that can cause him problems for Taira. He was able to showcase the striking, getting it done by knockout against Mateus Nicolau, and I think that's great. But, you know, Nicolau, he's one of the easier guys to finish, considering this guy has just got a terrible chin. I wrote that in my post-fight recap. Now he's got a young 24-year-old who's only been clipped once by Edgar Chairez. Didn't even get finished. He barely got dropped. And Tatsuro Taira is going to have a 5-inch reach advantage in this fight. I think these two are going to meet each other very well in the wrestling. But when it comes to the jiu-jitsu and grappling in this fight, I got to give Tatsuro Taira the advantage there. I think he brings a different style of grappling than Muhammad Makhachev does. Makhachev is more of a wrestler, more of a position over submission type of guy. Whereas Taira, he's going to be chasing submissions. He's going to be looking to get the back and looking for more dominant positions. I know Makhachev, he struggled in the wrestling with Perez, but, you know, he admitted he was sick, and he still got his hand raised in this fight. So I think Taira, he can be a better grappler than Makhachev, especially with his size to his advantage. This is a big step up in terms of rankings, but it's a very winnable fight for Tatsuro Taira. Alex Perez, I'm still not sold on how he does with, you know, grapplers like Tatsuro Taira. 7 out of his 8 losses are by submission. He's a great wrestler, but he's not a good grappler. And that's where Taira is going to be testing him in this fight. I'm picking Tatsuro Taira to get this one done by finish against Alex Perez in the main event. And there you guys have it, man. Those are my picks and predictions for the card. Hope you guys like, comment, subscribe. Best bets video is coming out very soon. I'm out of here, man. Peace.